Welcome to the inaugural show, Secrets of the Sire. We are dishing on comics, movies, TV, music, pop culture at large. You can catch us on enormous amount of different streaming services. The number one is talkradio.nyc. The live call-in number is 877-480-4120. I like to call this hour the fun hour. I know this is our first show, but it already has a nickname. That's what I like to call it because I want to just do, all kinds of fun stuff that we want to be talking about. One of the things we're going to be talking about today is the Oscars So White, the diversity, entertainment. I think it's a hot-button issue. It's really kind of funny because, a few weeks ago, I ended up watching the Star Wars movie, and even before that was the James Bond movie. And had a kind of a weird experience there. Saw my first trailer for Star Wars. I was doing my best to avoid it as much as humanly possible. I really was. I was doing a complete media blackout. I was not watching anything Star Wars. I was not reading anything Star Wars. I wanted to go into it as fresh as humanly possible. Obviously, saw some photos. Can't avoid it. I mean, you can't avoid it. It's everywhere. But went into the James Bond movie, and there it was. It was the trailer. There's no amount of covering your eyes and ears that's going to keep me from actually watching it at the time. So I said, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to watch this trailer. So I did. And in the series of montages, Finn, the lead character, gets up, and all of a sudden I have this feeling come over, and I said, he's holding the Jedi lightsaber, and I said, wow, this guy is the main character. And it took me a second to kind of respond to it, and I thought it was great. I thought it was really cool, but it felt a little unfamiliar. Not in a bad way, just different. Got me thinking, though, and it got me thinking the rest of the night, and I ended up watching the James Bond film. This is a tradition my dad and I have been doing inadvertently. It's a good little father-son time as we go see different James Bond shows and the different James Bond movies, starting with Casino Royale in 2006, and then the next one, and then we eventually got around to seeing Spectre, and I kept watching it, and I kind of was policing the film in my head the entire time. I said, oh my gosh, there's a white guy, James Bond, running around. He's battling other white guys. The main character, the main villain. The women were look, it's a James Bond film. This is not something that I should be surprised at. But the thought of diversity actually took me out of the experience of enjoying the film. And not saying it was a great film either. I actually think Casino Royale was way, way better. I mean, no question about it. The first one, Quantum of Solace, was better. I mean, they've progressively gotten worse, but that's a topic for another day. But the whole time I kept thinking in my head about diversity and how it affects, people's enjoyment. So this was again in November. So we're talking 2 months, and I thought, boy, what a great topic for a radio show. But unfortunately, there's really nothing current going on that I can talk about. And then all of a sudden, we have the Oscars So White debate that's going on, and I said, well, they obviously did it for me. They knew that my show was going to be on, and they knew that I love debating. I love kind of getting into it. So a couple things to know about me first. The first thing when it comes to these kind of topics and debating these kind of topics, the first, don't sell me. I don't want to be sold. I want to buy. Okay, that's the first rule. It's the first rule of networking. If you guys, for any entrepreneurs out there, you go to these networking groups, the one guy that's in the room that's shoving his business card in your face, telling him how great he is, telling him whatever. I mean, he might have, or she, we're diverse here, he might have the greatest product, service, whatever you want to call it. But if he's trying to sell you on it, you just naturally get that feeling. You get that icky feeling. You say, I don't want to listen. No. You might be great. That's great. But if you come in and start kind of just being yourself, being natural, and just letting it organically happen, I'm going to want to buy. And I think on this topic, that's how I feel. I want to buy. I want that experience that I felt watching the Star Wars trailer. I was in. And the best part about the movie was at no point did I even really contemplate until after it was over that the female was the lead, the person of color. He's not an African American. Everyone wants to say African American, but he's from Britain, so he's not African American. But the person of color was the lead, and I believe Oscar Isaac is also of a minority. But you know what? It didn't beat me over the head. It let me just enjoy the movie. Everything felt like Star Wars. It felt like a Star Wars movie, Star Wars characters. It was great. And it was great. And that's what I want. I want to buy. All right, so that's the first thing. Then the controversy with the Oscars comes out, and not a single person of color, minority, for the second straight year in a row has been nominated. And my initial reaction when hearing about Jada Pinkett Smith and the Spike Lee non-boycott that he's asking about was, are you trying to sell to me, or are you asking me to buy? And at the end of the day, I felt like you were trying to sell to me. I also felt like Jada Pinkett Smith was basically doing this to support her husband, which, obviously I would love it if my wife did that for me, or maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten the Oscar nom yet. I haven't been in a movie yet. I guess I got to have to start, baby steps before we get anywhere. But I just overall felt you're trying to sell me, and I'm not buying. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So, took a nice did a nice blog article on it. You can go to secretsofthesire.com. You can check out the blog. We're doing the blog every Wednesday, and then we're going to follow it with the show on Friday, and the podcast version of the show will be launched on Mondays. And I want to hear what you think. I really do. I want to hear, what is your take on this? I want to hear, do you feel that you're being sold to, or are you looking to buy the idea of diversity in films? The other thing about me so I've been in the industry, I've published comic books. I've had 2 off-Broadway plays produced. They were short plays produced. I hold writing, I hold the project with such purity that is the most important thing to me. The experience of going to a movie or watching a movie, I want to be completely immersed in the characters. I want to be completely immersed in the story. To me, the only out-of-body experience I will allow myself is to maybe critically analyze the writing style, critically analyze whether the characters are acting the way they're supposed to act or being the way they're supposed to act. Even that, I don't want to do it mid-film, mid-story, mid-book. I don't want to pick up the page. I don't want to do any of that. I want to enjoy it. I want to be immersed in it. And that to me, I think, is actually a sacred thing about being an artist, about being someone who's creative. Other creative people, they'll tell you the same thing. So with this whole controversy, we got Engineer Sam wants to jump in here.
Well, I just want to ask you on the idea of diversity, and specifically with the Star Wars movie, because I also just recently saw it. I mean, you saw it in the trailer, and we kind of prepared for it. But when Finn first takes off his helmet, and you see that he's a person of color, I mean, especially having known that the stormtroopers were originally all clones and this and that, like, that's a little bit of a shock.
So do you think it was more of was it immediately a bad shock in the sense of the PC red flag went off in your head?
Yeah, not so much like a bad shock, but yeah, it was kind of a little bit. Did they just do this on purpose just to include more people? And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but you
have to say that it's like the Seinfeld episode. You gotta, not that there's anything wrong with it. You gotta say that.
No, but it's. Does the storyline suffer? My question is, by doing that, does the storyline suffer? Does our view of stormtroopers now, are they completely changed after 6 movies because of that? And was there some sacrifice made for this sake of diversity?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one we're going to dive into, especially in the second segment. We got people who commented on the blog. feel exactly the same way you do. Maybe not relative to that specific scene, but in general, does it suffer? And that's really the question. And that to me is why I bring up that, to me, the movie-going experience, the film experience, it's so sacred to me. I don't want anything to ruin that. I don't want outside politics. I don't want a director telling me that he did it because he felt it needed to reflect the world outside. I get it. And it's awesome. And we should reflect the world outside. And diversity should be acknowledged and integrated. But we don't need to do touchdown dances after it's done and saying, look at what I did. Look at what I did. Look how I was such a forthright director, and I was such a forthright, because then you're selling your politics to us in the guise of a movie, even if you don't mean to. Even if the director honestly was just answering the question honestly. And look, J.J. Abrams had to do a million press junkets. He had to get into this topic. It's not an easy thing to do. Just seeing that, and in the convention experience, working in comic book conventions the last 15 years, I mean, you see it. I've done panels, small, very, 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 very small panels. It can be overwhelming. Any little bit of, and we'll actually get into this. I love the Daily News headline today on the Daily News site, where they take the one sentence someone says and they blow it out, and it's clickbait, and it's what it is. I mean, that's kind of the stuff that, I get it. It's not easy to have to answer all these questions, and they're going to take things out of context or whatever. But I think there are definitely a number of people that, portray, they like I said, they like to do the touchdown dance and say, look at me, look at how progressive I am, look at how, forthcoming I am. It's things like that where now if I watch their movies in the back of my head, and look, maybe this is just a me thing. I acknowledge that. It could be a me thing. It could be something that I have to deal with. I know it's in the back of my head. I hear it's in the back of my head. And then when I'm watching the movie, I can't help but be removed from the experience of the film. And that, to me, that's the question, and that's where we want to go with this topic. So coming up, we're going to be diving deeper into the blog. We've got some great comments. I'd love to take a look and read them out loud and hear what you guys think, too. You can call in at any point. And as soon as my trusty laptop tells me where it is, I can tell you. The call-in number is 877-4. I know it's a 4. See, it's coming. All right. 877-480-4120. Secrets of the Sire is brought to you by Innovative Network Solutions. Growing your business through technology. #Vintiaz. We also have some friends that I want to give a shout out to, the wonderful people at Comic Book Displays. Go check it out. They have awesome comic book display frames, high quality stuff. So check them out as well. These are friends of the show. We're very, very excited to have them on our show as well. So coming up, we go deeper. Oscar So White. I read off some headlines. Steven Soderbergh, Will Smith, all jumping in, and a certain 90-something-year-old actress, now she's not 90-something, she's very old though, who also says it's reverse racism, this Oscar So White campaign. So check us out.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Hello, I'm JC.
I'm Joan. And welcome to 21st Century Entrepreneur.
We bring education,
insight,
knowledge,
awareness,
trouble,
craziness, and fun
for you, the entrepreneur who's looking to build your business
and your community. Listen every Friday from noon to 1 Eastern on talkradio.nyc. And you can tweet us at 21st CE Radio or Talk Alternative.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
And we are back. Thank you guys for jumping on. I'm on Periscope. You go to my Twitter feed at Michael, MICHAEL _Dolce, DOLCE. This is talkradio.nyc. Also talkingalternative.com. They both go to the same spot. Flip it on. You can listen in. The call-in number, again, 877-480-4120. I really want to hear what you think on it, and then I'm going to read you some stuff, some quotes from different actors. We're, like I said, live Periscoping, so join us in. Shoot me some comments through Periscope. I will gladly voice them on air. Love getting into the debate of this thing, so yeah, that's you over there. All right, so I had the blog come out. I was a little nervous about it, not going to lie. I mean, you know, so Will Smith is very funny, right? Will Smith, I love Will Smith. Will Smith is a guy that, you know, if you've ever seen him in interviews, he is just a likable guy, and he needs to be liked. You can tell, like he wants to be liked. He is, you know, we are identical, actually, he and I, minus the 6'4" frame, the riches, the movie career, and the successful music career. I say successful because I had a very brief music career. We're like twins. I mean, we're like twins. But you could tell he was uncomfortable with everything that his wife was doing, but at the same time, really supportive. So anyway, I was nervous about the blog because I don't want to come off as unlikable. I don't want to come off as, you know, someone who is blind or in a bubble. I mean, it's an honest reaction. I think honesty is something that's sorely lacking. I think that, you know, I made the point earlier. Sam is my engineer, by the way. He is the brains behind this operation, and he is a guiding hand behind the scenes as well too. So one of the things that I was saying was with the blog, I wanted to come across as honest. And when we were joking before, I joke about the Seinfeld episode, you know, that Seinfeld episode when they would talk about whether or not Jerry and George were gay, they had to preface everything, you know, or they had to end every sentence with not that there's anything wrong with it, because, you know, they wanted to make light of the humor behind it without appearing offensive. And appearing offensive is, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's the worst thing you can possibly be these days, right? I mean, it's to offend somebody, to be PC these days, or to not be PC. Be PC, bro. You know, it's the worst thing you can be, especially if you're in a social media platform, in a entertainment platform. I mean, you know, look, I have comic book projects I'm working on. I have comic book projects I put out. I have screenplays I'm writing. I have things that I want to do, but I also want to talk honestly, and to be able to do that without fear of coming across as offensive. You know, it's a balancing act. So anyway, we got the blog, secretsofthesire.com. And I talked about the James Bond experience. I talked about the Star Wars experience, and we had some really great comments on it. So one of the ones I want to read is from Gay Gosser. As a white female, I live in a bubble similar to yours, Mike. However, I do remember the first time I saw a woman kicking ass in a movie. It was Angela Bassett in Strange Days. My body felt electrified. I could relate to the protagonist. Women are in the majority. I crave diversity, so we no longer notice it. I can't imagine what it would feel like to see movie after movie where none of the central characters resembled me. Hollywood needs to get its act together. Soon. It won't take away from my enjoyment. It will add to it. I agree with you 100%. I think that, hello from France. We got people from France coming in. That's great. Gay, I agree with you 100%. I think it's the same way you kind of felt electrified seeing someone you do relate to. I actually had the reverse, but not in a bad way, seeing Finn pick up that lightsaber and realizing, like, holy crap, this is, you know, he's going to be the main guy here. And it's not something I'm used to, but it's something I can definitely welcome. But the one line I love that you said, I crave diversity so we no longer notice it. It's easy to not notice it, except for the fact that every director comments about how righteous they are and how great they are. And look, I'm generalizing, obviously. You know, this is a great thing. This is, we need to really step it up. You know, the more and more I read things like that, and the more I hear things like that, again, I'm going to continue noticing it. And I'm not going to stop noticing it until people stop talking about it afterwards. So Steven Soderbergh actually jumped in on the hashtag Oscars So White controversy, and this is from the Daily News. And this was actually a great. First of all, I love the Daily News. That's my paper. It is. I'll read the Post. I like the Post too, but Daily News, that's been my paper for a while. So his comments were actually really, really interesting, and he was actually pretty blunt about it. And he said, "Look what's happening. People are talking about that instead of the movies." And that was the first thing I said. I said, exactly. How bad do you must feel? Leonardo DiCaprio made the mistake of being nominated in a year that he was white. I mean, what a terrible thing for him. This guy has been snubbed for so many years now, and he woke up and he looked at himself and he goes, "Ah, crap. I can't catch a break," because he's probably going to win, and he's going to win in a year that might be the most hated year the Oscars has ever had. This guy can't catch a break. He's a tremendous actor. And again, look, he lives a very privileged lifestyle. He's very rich right now. I get it. But again, it's these little things that you just, this is the offshoot, and this is just something that I notice. Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston was Malcolm's dad for years. Malcolm in the Middle. Forget this is Sam didn't realize this before Breaking Bad. He was Malcolm's dad. He was actually also on Seinfeld. I mean, he was an actor trying to make it, and now he's finally made it. And again, he's up there, and the attention is not going to be on him because Will Smith wasn't nominated, or or a person of color wasn't nominated. And again, it is a travesty. It is, but there are other effects to that as well. Now, speaking of Will Smith, he actually went on, I believe, Good Morning America, and he talked about it, and he loved it. He supported his wife for doing it. He actually said, "I was out of the country at the time. When I came home, I asked what happened." She was deeply passionate, and when she has moved, she has to go. I heard her words, and I was knocked over. I was happy to be married to that woman. There's a position we hold in the community, and if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. The funny thing, they also asked, would she have made the video if he was nominated? Now, obviously, he would have been the only person of color nominated, and he said no, she would have done it. I don't believe him, but that's neither here nor there. So we're going back to the blog real quick. Again, you guys can tweet me at Michael_Dolce with the hashtag Sire Speak. If you do that, I can definitely answer your tweets on air. Go to the Facebook page, secretsofthesire.com, and you can also comment right on that page as well, if I did that right before we started this here. On the blog, we had Alex Purcell. I guess my feeling is that the experience of film watching needs to be in keeping with the experience of the times. The whole idea is to create a believable alternative reality, correct? So I agree with you, Mike. If we are to exist in the place of the film, it better be representative of where we are culturally. I'm never going to get that right. So that we aren't distracted from the film itself. I guess the last thing we want as moviegoers is to be aware of our reactions of watching it. And exactly, and that's where I'm coming from. It's not, again, I think the diversity is awesome. I think the diversity is amazing. I think the fact that I watched the entire Star Wars film and didn't think about diversity was a testament to how well it was done and how well it was handled. Of course, that also coincides with the fact that I did a media blackout prior to watching Star Wars. So I didn't read anything from J.J. Abrams, even though he's very, very secretive, even though he's very, very protective over his story. I didn't want even the slightest. I didn't even want to know characters' names. I didn't want to know anything. By not knowing anything, diversity didn't even come into the equation. It was afterwards I started reading. I think he was quoted. Actually, I know he was quoted in Entertainment Weekly. I looked around and I wanted to represent, something to this extent. I want to represent the world that we live in. And now he had previously said in a different panel discussion, and again, I definitely give him some sympathy because to have to go around answer the same questions over and over again can't be easy. It just can't. He basically was saying in another interview that he didn't write these characters with color in mind. He didn't write these characters. And that's what I want to hear. I wish he would actually stay that way. I think that's really the message that I'm hoping to get across here. We have Matt Beyer actually had a great comment too, and this one was interesting because I was just talking about this with a friend of mine recently, and it's actually just something we were touching upon. Sam and I were touching upon it a little earlier in the show. No, I don't think it's our job to mentally police films, but that doesn't mean I'm without opinions about diversity in films. I didn't really care that there was a black Dr. Dolittle or a black Nick Fury, but I think making a black James Bond would be like making a white John Shaft. I guess it all depends on why you do it. If Star Wars is looking to bring in a more diverse audience by introducing a black main character, no problem. It's not the first time. Han Solo's best friend was another species, so a different color skin is hardly even noticeable. If diversity is introduced purely for some strange sense of fairness or political correctness, I don't get it. And that's absolutely dead on. But the idea of a black James Bond, now that's very, very controversial right off the bat. I mean, Idris Elba, I think he would kill it. However, I don't think I'd get through half. I think I would prejudge the movie before I even set foot in the movie theater. And that would be a mistake on my part, but it's what I would do. I would immediately. I had a conversation with a friend of mine offline a few days ago, and we were talking about the show and talking about all the cool things going on, and I mentioned the diversity. I mentioned the James Bond, and I said, what would you do if you had a black James Bond? And he said, PC move.
But my question would be, why make a black James Bond? Why not make just a black character that's separate? You know, like Halle Berry's character in one of the James Bond movies, which there was talk of that even spinning off into its own line of movies. That didn't
Love the
happen.
idea.
But it's like, make a black secret agent. It doesn't have to be James Bond. James Bond is a British character. It came out of World War II.
No, Idris Elba's British. You know, it's true. You know, it's funny. We're trying to dance around it a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. You know, again, we're trying to not come off as arrogant. Obviously, look, you know, I'm white. Sam's white. We have a different perspective. I get. Yeah, I know. I know. Well, that's not true. I don't look at the world in terms of color. No, I see nothing. I see no color. But you know, this is the thing. I think white audiences want to embrace this just as much as minorities and colors, people of color do. But I also think that we don't want to be sold to. We want to buy. I want to buy. All right, coming up next. Great interview. I work for the newspaper AM New York in New York City. I get to interview a lot of great musicians, and my next guest, although he's not physically here, is Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, one of the legendary alternative rockers in this day. So stay tuned if you were getting through all the diversity talk and Oscar talk to get to the interview with Chris Cornell. You are in luck. We are coming up next.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you on a path of consciousness or spirit? Is personal or spiritual empowerment important to you? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and I am here to answer your questions and bring you experts in all areas of life to raise your awareness and support you in your evolution. Tune in at my new time, Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern on www.talkradio.nyc. That's Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Song's called Command the Room. Just a reminder, you can catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/secrets of the Sire. And we are also on Twitter, at Michael, _Dolce. That is just my first name _ last name. Somebody once criticized the underscore as the worst thing ever, and I couldn't think of a better way to separate my name on Twitter. I guess maybe I shouldn't have. Who knows? But we're on Twitter as well. You can go to secretsofthesire.com. Don't forget the live call number is 877-480-4120. I'm going to get to my Periscope people after this segment coming up, but as I kind of previewed, we have a tremendous interview with an all-time legend. He's one of my favorite musicians of all time, and it was Chris Claremont. Chris Cornell. Chris Claremont is one of my favorite X-Men writers of all time. Chris Cornell, got to interview him before his show at the Beacon, which is actually just right around the corner here from where the radio station is, and asked him a bunch of different things. The first question that I asked him was, when Chris Cornell sets out to make a Chris Cornell record, it's going to be different. And I wanted him to really dive deep into Higher Truth and give us the background on how it felt to make a completely acoustic songwriting album.
Well, the initial writing/recording was just songs and arrangements and moves in the direction of acoustic songs, really. And I worked sort of in that method in a concentrated way when I was writing songs for the Machine Gun Preacher. And I wrote a few of them until I arrived at The Keeper, which is the song that's in the movie, which, though the film really was released in like 5 theaters, the song got a Golden Globe nomination, which was pretty interesting to me. I didn't really see how anyone had ever heard it. That was kind of, that was sort of the first period of sitting and kind of writing in that style, and getting ready to write the album. And the whole point of the album, to me, was, to finally kind of write an acoustic-based album, because since the beginning of Soundgarden, I was writing songs in that vein, and I had written several songs that ended up in films that were more along those lines, like Seasons, which was in singles, and Sun Shower, which was in Empire Poland's Great Expectations, and actually the acoustic version of like Suicide from Super Unknown in a movie. And so there were all the songs I wrote for Temple of the Dog were also kind of in that world of singer-songwriter, but written for no particular destination. I did write the song for Great Expectations, specifically for it, but for the most part, these are songs written kind of while I was not writing songs for Soundgarden to be released. It was like it was a hobby in a way, and I just got a lot of really great reactions to it. And when I did a promo show, an hour of acoustic songs in Stockholm when I was doing international promo for the Third Audio Slave record. And that was the first time I realized that, I can do like an hour of this and people don't start talking after 20 minutes, like they were just totally engrossed in the whole hour. And I wasn't, I don't think I played any Soundgarden songs or anything like that. All I did was audio slave songs, cover songs, and a couple solo things. And so, it was something that I always wanted to do. So from that point, I knew I would really do it. And then I started touring like that as a one-man show, and that went around North America 3 times. Went to Australia, New Zealand, South America, Europe, and every time it was very similarly received, which was sold-out shows and this really amazing kind of audience participation where I didn't follow set lists and told stories without planning on anything. There was no script of talking, and yet there was a lot of talking. It was just a totally different me, really. And so I wanted to write this record to support that. I wanted new songs to support this type of touring, and I wanted it to be a living, breathing thing instead of just nostalgia every time. And so the writing process started about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Next question that I had for him, and as a musician, I love interviewing musicians because I can do it from an insider's perspective. I was a singer and a drummer in a band, so I was able to kind of channel that. And one of the questions I had for him though was playing songs no one's ever heard before. I mean, this is Chris Cornell. You go to a solo show, so you do expect him to have to play stuff that he doesn't normally do. But does even someone like Chris Cornell get nervous playing something new?
There's a song called Josephine that I started to write when I first met my wife, Vicky. She was my wife yet. She was a girlfriend at the time, and I sang it to her over the phone, and I just kind of typed the chorus part. I had her name instead of Josephine. And I finished writing the song, this was years ago, and I think I recorded a version for Carry On, my second solo album, which is 2006. And I just didn't nail it. Well, I didn't reach the heart of it at all. And so I didn't put it on the record. And when I was finishing writing songs for this album, I remembered that song and thought, I really want to fix it and put it on the circuit. And instead of going back and listening to what I had, I don't remember what all the lyrics were precisely, and I have no memory of what key it was in or what chord changes I did really. And I rewrote it, and it really just kind of came out exactly the way I would always want it. And so I did it in a sound check not long ago, where no one could hear it because I didn't want to play any songs yet. It just felt like it felt like it lived in the world of what I do, but was brand new and totally fresh. So I'm very excited to play that song. I like the life that some songs can take because they're all different, and we live in a sort of strange world of manufactured music where people make appointments to go songwrite. That's always been a little strange to me.
Yeah.
I think that it sort of leaves out. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but it seems to sort of circumvent that natural inspiration moment, that where you get struck by lightning and you're in a room and you tell everyone they have to shut up, and then you run like a dictaphone or the memo section of your iPhone and you start whistling something into it. To me, that's always really exciting, and I love being around musicians that do that, or even writers. I've sat with Cameron Crowe before where we'll be having a conversation and he'll be looking around the room in a restaurant, and all of a sudden he'll stop and he'll start writing something down. And I have no idea what he saw. I don't know what he heard. But that sort of living sort of with one foot always in there. And my best writing is kind of like that. I'm driving down the street and all of a sudden,
Sure.
Like for example, Black Hole Sun, the whole song just kind of fell out of the sky when I was driving from Woodinville, Washington, back to Seattle at 4 o'clock in the morning. The whole arrangement.
So, correction, actually, that was which song was he excited to play? Funny backstory on the actual interview itself. I was in Bryant Park on the phone with him, connected, and that's why you hear some different things in the background there. So the next question was, are there any songs that he is afraid to play live?
I think that there are some songs that are just gonna just blow the roof off in that context without having anyone heard it. I just know they will, and part of that is because I've just made up songs on the spot that can do that. And then there are songs where I'm not sure, and the reason why I'm not sure is because the big picture is that I've been playing songs that people have heard in the context of a band and in the context of them being sort of electric rock songs. And when they're pared down to just a guy and an acoustic guitar singing, there is a certain amount of novelty to that approach. There is this sort of element of, wow, I'm listening to this song in a completely different context and I really like it, and that's a talking point. It's a curiosity.
Sure.
And if it's a song you've never heard, A, B, it's a song that is the opposite, really. if you have heard it, you're hearing a song that was written and arranged to be an acoustic song first, and that's how it's being presented. So you're sort of losing that curiosity. Therefore, it has to kind of work simply on the merits of the song. And that came in, I think, as a factor in my mind when I was writing the songs. And that singer-songwriters really have their work cut out for them, because every turn of every phrase has to connect to the next one. You can't get away with a lot of the stuff that I've done for years with psychedelic rock music, which is have it be these kind of verbal landscapes and word painting that make it sort of palatable, but aren't necessarily a narrative that the listener can immediately connect to their life. It tends to be more a narrative that people sort of create images in their mind of, and they can create an atmosphere in their imagination, and then it becomes something that is very meaningful to them later. But in the world of singer-songwriter, you kind of have to drop on every verse something where the listener is saying, yeah, oh yeah, and creating an image and a picture in their mind that they've seen before. It might not be the same as yours, but it's relatable. And so there was a little bit of a new approach to writing lyrics that I had to concentrate on and sort of develop a little bit. I've done it in the past, but when I did do it in the past, like when I wrote Hunger Strike, for example, or Wooden Cheese, they just kind of came out that way, and I recognized it at the time, but by the same token, I wrote around the same time Getting a Load of Heaven, which is complete fictional afterlife scene, in an environment that you can't really relate to now and here. Talking to a person that I know intimately, but no one else knows about, So it was a different world.
And then we went into writing solo versus writing for Soundgarden.
It sounds like you have almost a different mental space when writing the different songs. Because one of my questions was, when you're writing and you're talking about the inspiration moment, that moment on the street, do you immediately peg something as this is going to be a great Soundgarden song, or I need to call up Tom Morello right now and we need to bring Audio Slave back just for this particular song, or this is a singer-songwriter, or is that something you kind of figure out, as you then take it from that moment of inspiration into actually recording?
Well, I think it's a subconscious thing that's going on all the time, and there's like a left-brain administrator that does inform the right brain to some degree. In terms of here's what's going on in the real world, just so you know, here's the memo. And that occurred to me because I had written a lot of music at Soundgarden, for example, but I was starting to do these acoustic tours, and then Soundgarden reformed, and we were talking about doing all kinds of different things, but the thing that I was pretty sure we were going to do is make an album. And I was in a room rehearsing acoustic songs for one of the songbook tours, and all of a sudden I'm in between songs and I'm getting bored rehearsing. I start playing these riffs on the acoustic guitar, and as they were coming up, I was recording one on my computer real quick, and two or three of them became new Soundgarden songs. And the fact is, I wasn't really doing that before I knew that was something that was possibly coming up. All those years, I wasn't sitting around writing songs that could have been Soundgarden songs. It just wasn't coming out. And then all of a sudden, it was coming out simultaneously with the notion that it was possible and it was something I was probably going to do. So that was kind of weird to me. I write specifically for Soundgarden when I'm writing for Soundgarden, and that can mean a lot of stuff. If you listen to King Animal or Down on the Upside or Super Unknown, even though this is a rock band, we cover a tremendous amount of territory in terms of musical styles and bringing in influences. And yet, I avoided anything that really fit into that world purposely from Euphoria Morning on, So it was almost like the left brain just informing the right brain that, open this window now, because this is coming. And it seemed to kind of work without me having to actually do much thought. I didn't have to wake up one morning and set up the guitars differently in the room and then change my thought process to writing Soundgarden songs. It just sort of did its thing by itself, which I'm one of those guys that I have pretty much tried not to overanalyze it when things like that are working. I'm not sure that having an understanding of how it works helps it work better. I feel like maybe as long as it is working, it's better to just kind of let it work.
Absolutely.
That was Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. Coming up next, we're going to do a little roundabout. I'm going to take your calls. We're going to do some feedback. I'm going to talk about everything we talked about today and wrap this thing up, put a bow on it. All right.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and storytelling? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your brand new radio host on talkradio.nyc. I've been professionally writing and drawing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for over 15 years. Catch my new show, Secrets of the Sire, Fridays at 11 a.m., and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com right now.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Last segment of the day here, joined by Joan Pelzer from 21st Century Entrepreneur, the show that's coming on right next after ours. It's great because we know each other. We've networked together. We've been at different events and stuff, and it's great. And we have a lot in common. We got to do some more sit-downs and learn how to explore. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of taste of what's coming up on your show?
You betcha. So today we are talking all about business again on 21st Century Entrepreneur, and you and I have actually worked together, which is kind of fun. We worked for about a month together.
Right.
You owe me.
I bought you a couple drinks for that one.
You did. That was, you know what though? It gave us a chance to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Working together, and we know we do it well.
Yeah.
So we got to continue that. But this is so exciting to me that now there's a show right before us. There's a show right after us. Tony Martinetti. I say his name wrong all the time, and yet I'm Italian. How do I say his name wrong?
Well, you gotta use more hands. See, that's
and when
the
I
problem.
did the hands, I could say it. So he talks about nonprofits,
Yeah.
and that's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
And we've got the business, and you've got some fun and everything else thrown in there. And I love your show
Absolutely.
so far.
Thank you
I was
very
listening
much.
on my way here.
I got one comment that I need more cowbell. We need more cowbell. We need more cowbell.
Okay.
Actually, it's funny. The comment was more geared toward the Soundgarden interview. Now, the Soundgarden interview was actually a funny thing though, because I was in, like I said, I was in Bryant Park when I was when I actually got the time to speak to Chris.
Yeah.
And just as I got a nice quiet spot. I literally was staking out a spot.
Of course you were.
That as like quiet and as peaceful as possible, and I found one, and it was great. It was in the shade. It was like during that Indian summer we had in October, and it was just terrible. And then just as he calls up, and just as the publicist connects us, like 5 kids just start running behind me. So you can actually hear that.
Oh, that's funny.
So in the podcast on Monday, when I deliver the podcast, you can go to talkingalternative.com, talkradio.nyc, or secretsofthesire.com. That's SIRE. You can get the podcast on Monday, and you can hear, if you listen to the interview again, you'll hear just a bunch of kids, and you might think those are Chris's kids, but no, they were just some some random children that
I love
decided
it.
to jump up and down and run
I
around
love it.
right
That's
behind
awesome.
us. So yeah, so
that's so cool.
It was kind of cool. So we have some Periscope followers. That's the one thing I'd love to get to. We keep getting an intermittent number of people, but it's always the same. And then there's people join and people
Are you
leave.
getting hearts?
Oh, I got a couple
You got
hearts.
some hearts?
I got a
They
couple
like
hearts.
you.
I got a couple hearts. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
not
I'm
sure.
gonna
I'm not
post
sure what it was for though. I'm not sure.
Because they like you.
I don't know. And
Your
maybe
first
do.
show, they
Maybe
want to
do.
support you and love you and give you the love. I'm going to tweet
It's
you
very
too.
possible. Good.
And I got to start doing some Periscope. Nobody can see because you've got it in the arm, but maybe if you turn around the Periscope and show them the arm that you've got this your iPhone sitting in, it's kind of cool. Good
right.
technology.
We'll
I
take a
kind of
look
like
here.
it. There
Now
you go.
this is actually boring radio because this is visual.
I know for the radio. Well, that means they're going to have to also now follow you on Twitter and Periscope.
I
so
agree.
It's
They
kind
should
of like
be doing
tag
this
team.
anyway. They should be doing this anyway.
I think so.
I release very, very funny anecdotes.
You do.
No, I
You're a
don't.
funny guy.
They're okay.
You are.
They're
And
all
it's
right.
funny. This is cool for me because I'm learning more about you as we go along.
There you go.
And you are an amazing artist.
I do.
I know you drew your own logo for this show.
Oh yeah. Well,
So
actually,
that's
wait.
kinda
No,
cool.
no.
No?
I take that back.
You
the
did
logo
not?
is not my. No. That is from Ricky
Oh.
Purdon.
Okay.
He works in the comic book industry. I used to work with him at Wizard, and for my book, The Sire, he would do the comic book. A little strip at the end of the book, and it was
cool.
called Secrets of the Sire. I'll
Uh-huh.
tweet that out a little later. It was
Taking
actually
your picture while you talk
Oh, that's
to me.
okay. That's okay. I'm very photogenic.
You are.
The Secrets of the Sire was a one-page comic strip where he actually made me as the star, which was kind of neat
I
and
like
cool.
that.
And
Did
he would
he
just
name
do,
you? What did he name you?
I was just me, and it
You
would be
just
just
you.
me talking about.
Okay, cool.
He had a comic strip in on the Wizard website
Okay.
years ago, and it was fun. It was awesome, and I loved the artwork and I loved the energy, and I was like, you know what, let's do something. And so for the 6 issues, if you pick up the Sire 1 through 6, but I'll tweet out some of them later.
Yeah, please
so you guys
do.
can check it out. And
The
see it.
wisdom.
Yeah, no,
Wisdom
it's cool
of the
stuff. though.
Sire.
So that is the logo from the comic strip, and it's just perfect. And that's
Very cool.
Kind
You
of
are a
created
talented
name.
artist, though.
I am.
You
Sort
are.
of.
And you're gonna take a stab at doing a new logo for us.
That's right.
For 21st Century Entrepreneur.
That's
We're all
right.
gonna be like, this is gonna be like a very
Yeah.
helpful group
I
at
agree.
Talking Alternative.
I agree.
I think we're all gonna really become a really embraced community.
Now,
I love it.
Talk to me about your. You were an actress in New York City for a while.
I still am. I still do.
there
I
we
still
go.
do some commercials here and there. I'd love to do more theater, but I really don't have time. I'm trying to build my business,
Yeah.
help make it sustainable, and help the people around me make money with me.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm all about. In fact, I talked to someone yesterday who's in Vegas. We may partner up to do some social media and some
Yeah,
other
very
things
cool.
for him. And I said it's all about a partnership.
Yeah.
So yeah, the acting is great though. I've produced a lot of theater. I have a theater company with Tony Sportiello and Sharon Francis Osowski and my bestie Kelly McGuire, who should be listening right now. She's home tweeting for me.
What's your take on Oscars So White?
You
To
know,
kinda
it's funny because I
loop
saw
it all, to loop it all in. To loop it all in.
Well,
See,
and I'm doing some
connectivity,
social media for
linkitude.
Sam at Talking Alternative. So we retweeted some stuff you wrote, and we retweeted a post, the front cover of the post. I think it's a challenge, frankly, right now, and I think there's a lot of deserving folks that are not getting nominated, and I can't say that's
a good
why
question,
or not
though.
why.
That's a good question. So, I was listening to the Michael K. show. I love the Michael K. show. And he asked Spike Lee, he said, what actors or actresses didn't get nominated
That you would have
should have.
nominated.
Now, Will Smith
Right.
comes to mind. Straight Outta Compton obviously comes to mind.
Will Smith, to me, was a big snub. I don't like that he didn't get nominated. I think there was a reason for that because of the whole football theme. I don't know. That's
you know
my
what?
thought on
That's
it.
actually a great
Right?
point, though. The power of the NFL. So is it racism or is it the power of the NFL?
Could be, right? Because he
That-
said he's
that
gotten
stopped
some.
him.
He was
Yeah.
in an interview said that's not
Yeah.
such a great thing right now. I know you're about to wrap up. I don't want to take all your steam at the end of your very first show, but yay, Mike! Congratulations.
Thank you very much,
Welcome
Joan.
to the family at Talking Alternative.
Thank you very much.
Very
and
excited.
for everybody tuning in to my show, stick around. It was immediately after Joan and JC Maldonado, host 21st Century Entrepreneur. I might stick around for a few more minutes as well too.
You will. You'll be on
Well,
our
I'll be
show, too.
sticking around here definitely. All right, Periscope people. I just saw something go by, but if you have any questions or anything like that, hit me up. If not, we'll go to a last comment here. I hope this recent uproar about diversity in the Oscar nominations helps crack or break the movie formula glass ceiling. It's a really good point. The movie formula, the people actually making the movie. Or making the movies, I should say. They're the ones that, lead up to this stuff. Whoopi Goldberg, I just recently read a quote saying, where was this talk 6 months ago when the movies itself weren't being made? I think that's actually a really good point in this year's nominations as well, too. I don't think the movies were really being made that kind of support that. Whereas TV's like a golden age of television these days. Or a golden age of storytelling, I should say. Because the TV, you have plenty of, Empire is the biggest thing out there.
Empire is amazing.
It's huge. You have female-driven, shows. You have, all these things that are great. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the movies.
Well, I'm sure you'll be talking about it.
I will definitely be talking about it. Next week, we'll be talking about something a little more fun. We're talking about the superhero movies you are excited about in 2016. I go through why I'm actually sick of them and why I think Deadpool is going to flop. So tune in to Secrets of the Sire next week, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can catch us again, secretsofthesire.com. The podcast for this show will be on the website Monday. The new blog will be launched Wednesday, and then Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, assuming there's no snow, or the fact that my wife is pregnant and could give birth at any day now. That's about the only thing that will keep me from coming here. I might actually ask my wife, while she's in labor, I gotta just run down. Just give me like 2 hours. Just give me 2 hours.
Why don't you just do it live from the hospital?
I will be a call into my own show. Hey guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys. Thank you audience out there, most especially for tuning in. Keep spreading the word. And that's pretty much it. I got a great comment from Periscope, which I won't air. But thank you very much. This has been Secrets of the Sire. And check us out next week.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and storytelling? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your brand new radio host on talkradio.nyc. I've been professionally writing and drawing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for over 15 years. Catch my new show, Secrets of the Sire, Fridays at 11 a.m., and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com right now.
Hey, all you crazy listeners. Looking to boost your business? Why not advertise on Talking Alternative with very reasonable rates? Interested? Simply email at info@talkingalternative.com.
Hello, I'm JC.
I'm Joan. And welcome to 21st Century Entrepreneur.
We bring education,
insight,
knowledge,
awareness,
trouble,
craziness, and fun
for you, the entrepreneur who's looking to build your business
and your community. Listen every Friday from noon to 1 Eastern on talkradio.nyc. And you can tweet us at 21st CE Radio or Talk Alternative.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network at www.talkingalternative.com. Now, broadcasting 24 hours a day. Talking Alternative.
Are you on a path of consciousness or spirit? Is personal or spiritual empowerment important to you? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and I am here to answer your questions and bring you experts in all areas of life to raise your awareness and support you in your evolution. Tune in at my new time, Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern on www.talkradio.nyc. That's Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.